What's good, everyone? This is the Artist of Truth coming to you all once again with another vlog entry. So what this specific blog is going to be about, Kevin Hart. And of course, you already know, Kevin Hart tweeted several jokes, homophobic jokes. Now, anyone that knows, that is familiar with the with comedy, knows that Kevin Hart is a comedian. Some of the things that Kevin Hart says is not a reflection of his character. So, of course, you know, these tweets were a decade ago, okay? Tweets were a decade ago. He was up for speaking during the Oscar Awards. But the Oscars and allegedly the LBG community felt that they felt compelled to dig up 10-year-old tweets in order to get him to apologize again. Now, the way I see it is, once you apologize for something that you have done or something that you have said, it's over and done with. If you are emotionally attached to what someone said over, 10 years ago, then that is a personal problem. The Oscars, they felt Kevin Hart should apologize again, which I like how Kevin Hart, honestly, I like how Kevin Hart handled that situation. Just say, you know what, I'm going to step down. And with all honesty, the Oscars doesn't recognize men and women of color's abilities to act. And this is facts. If you really, you really do the research and, for yourself and find out how many actors and actresses of color have received Oscar awards, which honestly, furthermore, I don't understand why is it that people of color feel so compelled to be a part of an award ceremony that is so biased. This issue came up once before, about them being so biased. But, of course, you have some people of color, they just want to fit in. They want to be accepted. And honestly, I mean, hell, if I was an actor myself and I received the invitation, I would just tear it up and tell them, hey, y'all can stick this shit where the sun don't shine. I don't want to be a part of no organization, no award ceremony where you are truly so biased when it comes to people of color that it is utterly disgusting. Furthermore, Nick Cannon came to Kevin Hart's defense by revealing 3 Caucasian females comedians. One of them, Chelsea, the other, Amy, and if I'm not mistaken, the third one is Sarah Silverman. So it's Amy Schumer, Chelsea, I can't recall her name, but, I really don't listen to her, so it's simply irrelevant. But Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer, and Chelsea. 3 Caucasian comedian females that crack homophobic jokes. And Kevin, of course, Nick Cannon brought attention to them. Not too long ago in a tweet, Nick Cannon says, I'm just saying, should we keep going? And he tweeted Amy Schumer tweet, which said, enjoy Skyfall fags. I'm about to get knee deep in Helen Hunt, The Sessions. Okay. The second tweet was, and I fucking love Wreck-It Ralph. And under that tweet, Sarah Silverman, I don't mean this in a hateful way, but The Bachelorette is a faggot. So, of course, reading another article, apparently Sarah Silverman reached out to an author / activist by the name of Greg Hogbin. Now, Greg is, of course, he's a homosexual, and I know some people may feel like, oh, that's not the proper way to, you know, to address it or call it. You know, honestly, I don't give a fuck. If I decide I want to say faggot, I'm gonna say faggot. You don't like it, that's tough. That's my choice. That is my choice. You know, because of course, you know, people of color have been called niggas for years. And some people are still calling people of color niggas. And they don't apologize for it. I don't hear the Academy Awards apologizing for anything remotely responsible for someone else's, being disrespected or degraded. I don't hear these things. Not even from, the homosexual, lesbian, gay community. I don't hear anything, being brought to the media's attention about how men and women of color are being affected, how they are being addressed. So, in a tweet, Greg Hogbin stated, reached out to Nick Cannon saying, I understand the comparison that you're trying to make between Kevin Hart and these comedians. But as a gay guy, let me share my opinion with you, which personally, I've yet to hear a man or a woman of color from the lesbian gay community say that, oh, I was offended by Kevin Hart's homophobic jokes 10 years ago. I don't hear that. Honestly, the only ones that seem to be trying to push Kevin Hart to dish out an additional apology are Caucasians. And my thing is, do you all really want to go that route? Because there are plenty of other things that Caucasians should be apologizing for, even to this day. But of course, you'll hear some Caucasians come forward and say, I'm sorry slavery happened. I'm sorry racism and this, that, and the fifth. But even they're going to get tired of repeatedly apologizing, because, it gets to the point where it's like, hey, if you can't get over it, that's a personal problem. In this same notion, if you are offended by what Kevin Hart said in a joking manner, even when consciously that he's a comedian and he jokes, that's what he does. He cracks jokes even on black people. But I don't hear black people raising any Cain about it. I most definitely don't hear any Caucasians raising Cain about it. So as far as I'm concerned, as long as there is a pawn that is going to make a fool out of him or herself for the benefit of Caucasian, for the entertainment of Caucasian, then it's fine. But the first time that a black man happens to say something that is gut-wrenching or a gut shot to Caucasians, then everyone is suddenly in their feelings. So honestly, Silverman, she used Greg Hogbin as a scapegoat to avoid apologizing for making a homophobic joke. Of course, Greg made up this excuse about, well, these homophobic jokes coming from these three women are a different feeling. It's a different, you can't compare the two, because when it's coming from three white women, it's much more acceptable. It's a joke. We shouldn't, it's not that serious and this, that, and the fifth. I'm like, okay, well, to Greg and anyone else who feels that Kevin Hart, the jokes that he cracked were out of line, honestly, all I can say to you is get a life. Really, just get a life. If you can't take a joke, then don't take a joke from anyone, period. Do not be selective about who's telling the joke or where the joke is coming from or how you're feeling, because when someone cracks a joke, you're supposed to laugh. That is the whole bottom line. And I commend Kevin Hart for stepping down, because honestly, Kevin Hart, you don't need to be a part of that. You don't need to be part of no award ceremony where they do not recognize the roles that men and women of color play in a serious moving and gripping role that they're not willing to recognize. So, in closing, if you feel some sort of way about that, then that's a personal problem that you need to work on yourself. Ain't no one going to apologize. Last time I checked, these, I'm pretty sure that if the 45th decided that he was going to make a homophobic joke, which of course he has already made some of the most sexist jokes about women, grabbing them by the pussy and everything. But I found it quietly, remotely amusing how those same Caucasian women, they still voted for him. They still pulled for him. They're still supporting him. So you can't say you can't say shit about a joke when you have the 45th who was out here talking about grabbing women by the pussy, and you're comfortable with that, or you just deflect that. The same way you deflect a Caucasian man that is really an immigrant himself. The same way you deflected his insultive, sexist remarks, you all need to ignore or just overlook the joke. I don't see anyone knocking down any doors trying to get Trump to apologize for shit that he says. Nothing. So if you're not going to force the issue on the 45th, and you're trying to force the issue on a comedian, your priorities are fucked up. And it's quite obvious that the race card plays a very, very vital role. As far as I'm concerned, I feel like most comedians, hey, if it was Paul Mooney, if you haven't heard of Paul Mooney, you need to sit down and listen to Paul Mooney. Paul Mooney going to say exactly what he's going to say. And you call him up and tell him, we need you to apologize for the jokes that you cracked over 20 years ago. And watch and see exactly what he'll tell you. He'll tell you to kiss his ass. The same thing I would tell you to do. Kiss my ass. You in your feelings, go kill yourself. But in closing, just, hey, we all need to learn how to focus on more irrelevant, important things. And until we get to that point, we're just consistently going to be entertaining a whole lot of sensitive ass people and their emotions. So talk with you later.